Hey everybody, Jessica Henry Gray here. Today I have my husband with me. This is Dean Gray.
Hello.
We have a really fun project today that I thought, we were sort of collaborating. We thought, let's come up with something that we think everybody would really enjoy. So actually this was Dean's idea. And so he's the one to blame. Dean, what is it that you actually really wanted to do today?
Well, I like to get back into painting. I'm married to an artist, so I have the source of education here, and I've always loved photography. I love composition. I've never really studied it that much. I've been that good at it, so I thought it'd be fun to give it a try.
Yeah, so that's what we're doing today. Actually, he selected a photo that is just really simple, and what we've provided for you is down below. We're going to put the PDF file of this photo. So if you guys want to follow along, you can print off that actual photo and just follow along with us step by step from the beginning. And the really neat thing about this photo that he chose is it's mostly just a value study. So Dean, can you explain a little bit about why you chose this painting?
Yeah, we were driving back from Minnesota, visiting Jessica's family over the holidays, and we were going through a period of time when it was overcast and then it was sunny and the clouds were breaking up, and you could see some great scenes where the sun was bursting out on the landscape, on the snow. Yeah. And so I've always loved those scenes where you've got some nice bright things and some shadows. So we picked this one of those photos that we took on the way home.
What I'm going to do now is I'm going to get the size 6. If you want to grab that one would probably be fine.
Okay.
Wipe out the brush. And a word on paper towels, always use a good quality paper towel like Bounty or Viva. The cheap low-grade paper towels, you wipe your brush off and it's like wiping it on paper, and it just doesn't grab the paint and pull it off. So these are an important tool in the studio, so make sure you get good ones. Another thing you could use if you wanted were just rags from t-shirts and so forth. All right. Okay. And I have a garbage bag down here. You can always tape one to your easel or whatever you have to do, but just keep it handy. Okay, so we are going to jump in. We're going to start from the background and work our way to the foreground. So we're going to start with these clouds, and I'm going to take some ultramarine blue. And now, I wanted to mention, I'm not going to use, the only reason I have the thinner out still is to clean my brush. So now we're going to switch over to linseed oil if we need to thin the paint a little tiny bit. Okay, so when you're using linseed oil, just dip the tiny corner of your brush in it and see if that's all you need. You don't want to get too much on there and mix it in and then have a big oily pile of slickness that you can't use. So start with a tiny bit and see if you need more. Usually you don't need very much of that at all. Okay, so I'm mixing up just a nice, I'm looking at the clouds, I'm thinking I've got to get that little bit of that darker in there, some white, ultramarine blue, and burnt sienna. And mix up a big enough pile of this. It's a darker gray. And we're going to lay this in place on our canvas where we see that darker parts of the clouds. I'm going to make a little bit bigger pile because it's too small. Okay, ready?
I hope.
All right. If you need more, it's only 3 ingredients, so white, blue, and brown. The challenge is the ratios of how much of this to that. Okay?
Okay.
So we're going to jump in and we're going to put this darker cloud up in here first. I'm seeing that needs to be in this area. And I'm putting that on with some smaller X's like this. You can alter your brush strokes too every now and then. If you just want to go like that, you can. Grab a little more paint whenever you run out. But don't lose those lighter patches that you rubbed out, because those are going to give us the pattern for where our other colors are going to go. I know some of this canvas shows through, that's okay. So don't feel that you absolutely have to cover every square inch of your canvas.
like I mixed up way too little.
A little bit of linseed oil will thin it a little bit to make it stretch a little further. But be careful that you don't get too heavy and dark in this area, because you can make it too dark and then it's a little challenging to pull it back out a little bit lighter.
Okay, I'm probably doing something. I'm globbing paint along the sides. You know, it's.
Oh, okay. So look at when you brush. Here, bring your palette over here and we'll show
Okay.
everybody. When your brush gets like this, can you hold it down so?
Sure.
Like this. A nice trick to do is take your brush on your palette and roll it right in your pile. Roll and drag. See how it, instead of wiping all that paint off on the paper towel, you'd lose it? I put it right back in the pile by rolling my brush on it, and then you have it all.
All right. Wow, fast.
Remember too, the human brain can only hold an image for just a few seconds. So look back at your reference all the time. And if you've printed out this picture at your home or you have it on your computer, if you print it out, tape it right to your easel. If you have it on a laptop or device, see how close you can get it right to your image where you're painting. Just working that paint right into the fabric of the canvas. And you can see I'm leaving patches, and that makes it look interesting and have that vibrancy of the cloud, the thickness and the thinness of that formation. And we're also using hog's hair brushes. Hog's hair brushes have a stiffer bristle, and that stiffness allows you to work the stiffer paint into the canvas. If you were using a synthetic brush that had squirrel or mongoose or whatever, it's softer and it's more difficult in this stage to paint with a softer brush. So I do have those because I like them, but you need the stiff brush for the beginning. Did it okay?
Yeah.
Looks good.
It's taken a lot of paint.
Okay, so the beginning stage of your painting is always a thinner layer of paint, and then towards the end, as you get working on the details and just other parts of the body of the painting, you get thicker paint, and that is a rule that they call fat over lean. And fat over lean means just simply that. You have fat paint over thin paint. And if you try to do it opposite, the paint can end up cracking and splitting over time.
Well, it's just sort of, I think you create a little bit of the light tones,
Mm-hmm.
and then you hit them over top with the heavy, which gives a realistic kind of cloud
Mm-hmm.
look. You do that first?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll come back later and hit it with a little bit more powerful impact of color and light and brush stroke.
Okay.
So what I have here is a little bit more white added to this blue. Just a little, and there's still some of the burnt sienna mixing into that. I'm just taking that and putting it now in passages where there's a little bit thinner areas in the clouds. Again, just this soft X type painting, just in little passages. Up here where we decided that there was a little bit thinner passage. Good job. Yeah, you're really doing it. No, you're doing fine. Just keep going.
Okay.
Watch here too. These get a little bit lighter as they come down. So just as you're mixing, grab just a teeny bit more white into
Okay.
these.
Okay. Gotcha. Was I dark enough up here, you think?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay. So now you're just putting a little layer of lighter.
Not over everything though. Just don't lose the integrity of those darker patches. Just gently and in soft little X's. Let some of that just sort of play up in those areas. If you look on there where you can see some little bit lighter patches. And there's such a warmth to the sky. If you want to add just a touch of yellow ochre to your white, you can do that too. The main lesson that I really hope that you take away from this is that there's nothing really complicated about it. Anybody can do this. It's just a matter of a little bit of knowledge and technique, and the rest is practice. Now I'm going to take a little bit of that cadmium yellow and mix it in with the white and yellow ochre mixture. Just because as I work on some of these lighter passages as we get closer to the horizon, I'm seeing a lot more of that yellow in here. Up here where the clouds were thinner, I used a little more of that yellow ochre, this color. But as the sun is filtering through this area down here, I'm just going to use a little bit more of the cadmium yellow, this one. And I'm still keeping it very thin. I'll come back through and of course thicken and brighten things as I need to.
So you really go, you have to go way white, right? With like this kind of passage right here.
It's a stronger white.
Yeah.
But not only white. You could add a little of the yellow ochre to warm it up. See how that really is quite a bit more yellowy in there than just that white? That's a great comparison.
Oh, I think I need a short break. Yeah. Like blending the sections rather than, like I've got this color, this color, this color.
That's okay. I'd rather see it blocky
Okay.
than
Then
too
two.
blendy blend. So one of the things that I'm really excited about what Dean's working on here is how he's kept the integrity of the patches of these colors in place. So there's this nice dark patch, medium tone, and a little warmer in here. And then as these cloud formations get closer to the light, we see a little bit more warmth and a lighter value because the clouds will get thinner as they're less dense in the middle. Okay, so now we're going to work on pulling out those much brighter lights as we work towards the bright center. So that's basically all I'm going to work on too, is continuing to put in these shapes that I see of the yellow cloud down here.
Okay.
Just, I want to get the shapes a little bit more accurate. They're not that accurate yet.
Okay.
So that's yellow and white. There's some yellow ochre in here and a little bit of that bluish base that was underneath.
Okay. Do we clean the brush at all, or?
I just wiped it off.
Okay.
And it's okay if it's just a nice flat
Is that
passage
cad
of
yellow?
color. Yep, cad yellow. There's a little bit of yellow ochre in this mixture just to
Okay.
warm it or to get a little more earthy tone. Because just cad yellow and white makes a nice, like a light lemon,
Okay.
which would be, I think, wouldn't be quite right in this passage. If it was too yellow and white.
Wow. Got a lot of paint there.
Mm-hmm. So I just added a little bit more of the linseed oil because my white is a very stiff color. So by adding a little bit, it just made it a little bit more softer, like sour cream or whatever. So you'll see I often will put a brush stroke down. If I don't like it, I adjust the color or value back on my palette.
Kind of got myself into a corner here. Get out of the way.
Mm-hmm.
How's that one?
Good. That looks good.
You
Looks
think
just
so?
like it. Yeah, your brush is getting heavy.
Yeah. Okay, and so you're painting in the open spots.
Yep, all of this passage down below as it meets the horizon, very yellow. Just be careful that you don't pick up the darker paint and then paint that into the sky. So a simple piece of paint with a start and a stop will give you that clean passage. One of the problems that beginners often have is their colors get muddy. That's because they're not wiping their brush or cleaning their brush often enough. And one way you can do that too, like I showed you, is by twirling the brush on the palette just to get so much of the loaded brush paint off the brush.
Now, where we have these little trees,
You paint over them.
okay.
Yeah. They were just there to help us get the feel of where we're going to go with everything.
Are we gonna blend these?
Yeah, well that's what, in fact, that's what I was just doing here. Taking the tip of my brush and just going along the edges of these color pieces and sort of softening them with small, tiny, light X's into the next color. But you can leave some of that really cool loose brushwork in here too, if you just concentrate your efforts on making the brush strokes around the center of interest really beautiful. Start, stop, clean strokes. And I'm gonna work on some of this shape in here a little bit more too.
Okay, yeah, I've noticed you're leaving it blank on
Right
the,
here. Mhm.
that's your really hot spot that you're
Mhm.
you're setting up for.
Right.
Okay.
You can also lay down thicker passages of paint like this,
Mm-hmm.
and then I'll come back through with a dry brush and soften that into the background.
Okay.
So I'm mixing up just a light mixture over here of ultramarine blue and a little teeny bit of sienna and lots of white, just to give me sort of that grayish blue mixture that I see in some of these lower clouds that I just have a little too heavy and not even painted down here. You don't have to worry about that yet. I'm just putting that in.
Okay. So you're pretty much covering the whole canvas now, except for your hot spot, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So what I'm doing at this point is I'm going back through the clouds and I'm just working on getting some of the values a little bit more accurate, as sometimes in the passages of working on things, those values can get muddled or lost. So cleaning up those areas a little bit too.
Okay, Annie. I'm ready for an assessment.
Okay. I think so too. What you want to do now is take just a clean, dry brush, and that's about what I'm going to demonstrate here. You can put your palette down, grab a clean paper towel.
Clean paper towel?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And you're going to go through and wipe with the brush on here, and then wipe off. Wipe off. And that's just going to soften the edges of the clouds a little bit more. So in the passages in here, I'll point with my brush, where you have it kind of blocky and there's little holes, you're gonna come out here, I'll show you here. And just soft little X's, but if you don't remember to come up and wipe your brush, you're gonna mushy the whole thing, and you don't wanna do that. So just work on this color throughout the sky, and then wipe your brush really, really well throughout, and then work on this color, the darker color throughout, and then wipe your brush, and so forth. That way you don't lose the integrity of those passages. So
you're not really trying to blend the border zones, you're trying to just blend within the color itself.
You can blend the borders, but you have to wipe frequently. So
Okay.
I'll show you here where the white meets that. I just take the corner of this brush
Okay.
and soft little X's.
Okay.
But there can be places where it can still have its own crispness. And you can see on our image, there's some places where there's a little bit sharper edge, but they're not really sharp compared to like the silhouette of the barn.
Right.
So that's one place.
Okay.
All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to first go over and just work on my darkest passages, keeping them a little bit quieter, because if I have all this exciting, turbulent brush work, then we're going to look there. And that's really not where I want us to spend the time looking in this painting. So just very, very lightly, without upsetting the paint too much, just some soft little, almost whisperings, telling it to be quiet over here. Here a little bit. I still like some of the brushwork showing through, just because I do like brushwork, but not, I don't want it too loud, is all. Sometimes there are passages where the cloud is really thin and you have a really soft blending area where the two colors, it's hard to tell where one starts and the other stops. Very light with my brush, just so that it doesn't eliminate some of my brushwork, but you just want to play with a little bit of this light coming through. Okay, so I am at the place in my sky where my next step then is the sun. So I'm going to stop what I'm doing and let Dean catch up, and when he's caught up, then we'll get back on.
Thanks. Okay.
Okay, so we just worked a little bit on creating some of this glowing effect with some white and cadmium yellow. Just painted that on, and then we took our finger and did a little white spot of pure white for the sun. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to come down here and paint in the banks of snow, and we're going to do that by painting the medium and the lighter tones, and then at the very end we'll add the darker trees. Okay, so we already have those colors mixed up on our palette, so we're going to just jump right into those medium tones. A little bit of white, ultramarine blue.
Okay, and maybe kind of a smaller
Oh,
brush.
6. This is a size 6 filbert.
Okay.
This brush will allow me to lay down larger swatches of paint, so it gets filled up pretty quickly. So I roll my brush.
So this one's going to be too big.
You could use it. I always try to err on the side of using a brush that's too big rather than too small. Too small and you end up picking at it, and it looks picked at, but if you go bigger, then you're forced to use broader strokes.
Okay.
And generalize. You always, with any kind of painting, you work from general to specific.
Okay.
So bigger is fine.
So
See how you can work it. If it starts to feel like it's out of control, you can get a little bit smaller one.
Okay.
Yep, blue and brown and some white.
Okay.
I'm just mixing up a nice middle tone gray, the color that I see in the shadows of these snowbanks over in this passage. Don't worry about all the variations and subtle details. You can always add those at the end, like I said, always general to specific.
Now, how about that idea of the hill, the mountain in the distance? Are we going to maintain that, or just not really?
But we'll do that at the end.
Okay.
When we do the darkest value last.
Okay. So at this point,
Now, yeah, this process is just a simple laying down of this medium value back in here.
okay. Oh, do you pick up the paint like going bristles in, kind of, or do you
Yeah,
always
sometimes.
pull out?
No, it's different every time.
Okay. Oh, you're painting sort of under the trees. Oops.
Yep, I'm gonna not worry about the trees at all,
Okay.
because I'll come back through and repaint those.
Okay. By the way, when you're mixing, do you generally grab individual colors and bring them down and then go up and get the next one, or?
Yeah, a little bit of like this. So blue here, brown here, and
Okay.
instead of pancake batter mixing them, I
Okay.
just take a little bit of this color and a little bit of this and paint those together. If I need more blue, I grab it. If I need more brown, I grab a little bit right there.
Okay, gotcha. It's not what I did, but that's, I did watch it.
Allowing these brush strokes to show the form too is important, the form of the land. If I were to go up and down, even though over here I was just scrubbing in this color, but I'm going to go over that with the strokes showing and defining the form of this hillside.
And so you just kind of dodge the dark that you've already painted on, right?
I'm sort of going around it a little bit, as well as the white. But I'll come back through and put those in more detail.
Okay,
But in the meantime, I have to get paint in and around there somehow.
right.
Okay, so while I've kind of got that middle tone laid in, I'm going to take some of my lighter color down here and just right into that. White, yellow ochre, a little bit of that cadmium yellow. I'm going to paint this on top of the banks of snow that are getting some of that light.
Notice you're not really keeping your lines very clean as you come down. Are you?
No, because I want a natural, soft, earthy
Mhm.
feeling.
Okay.
So that's called just a softer edge.
Okay. Oh, and so that's your whiter white, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, when you lighten the lighter snow is what color?
Just I went right into this cloud color.
Okay.
Yellow ochre, the other yellow, some white, right into whatever was on my brush too, that blue green, or that blue gray.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you only brought it down so far.
For what time?
The first passage there.
This?
Yeah.
Well, I just took some of this because I see it as it branches over this way and cuts across that way. I think it adds a nice variety to the form.
Oh, you've got a little swath in there too that I wasn't doing. I'm screwing up.
No, it's okay. Okay. I'm going to just soften some of these transitions in here a little bit. No mistakes.
I'm making many.
You're not making many. You're doing just fine. Say it. Painting is hard.
Painting is hard. It's like math. Okay.
It happens.
Yeah. I want to stop.
You don't get to quit. Don't quit. No quitting.
All this pressure.
No
Can't
pressure.
take it.
No pressure.
Painting is not for wimps.
No. Right now it looks like a winter desert.
Hmm. Okay, sweetie, what do I need to do?
All right, so now just take and soften those passages of your white in there.
Uh-huh.
Make it a little bit yellow. Compare it to the white of this
Uh-huh.
in the photo too. And see
Right.
how much darker this needs to be knocked down on your
Okay.
painting? So just knock that down a little bit, but you can do that easily by taking your color in here and just blending it into that a little.
Okay. Well,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, okay, I get it, because this is the side of a hill. So this is just contour, it's not like another hill that's covering it.
Right.
Okay. Do I do that with a different brush or same one?
I'm just kind of wiping mine and continuing on with it.
Okay.
And then here, where the sun is hitting the snow most directly in the whole picture, we have that brighter passage right in there. But even still, even though we know snow is white, you really can't paint it white because it just wouldn't read shadowed and contoured. So I'm going to come back in here while I'm just waiting. I'm going to define this skyline a little bit sharper, and I'm mixing up a little darker value, and I still want some white in there because I'm seeing it's kind of more, I wouldn't say mountainous, but you can see that there's this contour that would suggest very large hills back in there. So we'll get those in place before I do the trees in front of it.
What do you think, honey? Keep going where?
Oh, I would take this here and pull it up a little bit more horizontal.
Okay. Just put white on it, or should I?
Yeah, and then back here, there's a few passages where the light is
Okay.
hitting those distant hills.
Okay.
And that just gives it a little bit more dimension to that background. Okay.
Okay.
Now, clean your brush off really well. We're going to make a nice dark mixture just for the trees and all those darker areas. And I'm going to use a small one for this because I'm going to start with some of the further back trees. So just taking ultramarine blue and burnt sienna. And there's some white underneath this mixture that it's mixing with, and that's fine because my darkest darks are going to be up in the foreground. Yep, that's it. So I'm just going to keep this pretty much focused in the center here. I don't want a lot of strong contrast going off the edges of the canvas. So I'll just keep these a little bit softer, more muted over to the edges, and then I'll focus on the sharper contrast in the middle here. And
So,
then
honey, sorry, the white, you said you mix with white, or you just have some on
There's
the
a-
canvas already?
a little bit under the palette where I was mixing.
Okay.
And I'm just taking and suggesting some trees back in here. Remember we had all those trees that we lost, so we're gonna put some of those back. And I'm suggesting some over here, way off in the distance. Just taking that dark color and blending it up into the sky wherever I want a tree. Just like that.
Okay, but it's actually pretty light.
Yep, because I'm taking that dark
Uh-huh.
and I'm mixing it with the yellow that's right underneath it.
Okay. And that's giving the illusion of distance because of the...
And fuzzy trees.
Okay. And more toward the middle.
Just more detail and information toward the middle. You can do some towards the edge, but it's really not, you don't want to draw the eye off the canvas that way. So just maybe do what you want by the edge first, and then that can be your standard by how much you're going to put in the middle. You just do a little bit over there. Be careful of the temptation to evenly space them.
Now, honey, these trees, is that what you're painting?
Yeah.
Or, okay.
Exactly what I see right along the horizon.
Okay. And you're just sort of vaguely hinting at little... Okay.
So just jumping into that same dark mixture. Now everything up close is going to have more contrast. So this is going to be my darkest dark. Your strongest blue and your strongest brown without so much of the white from underneath. Try to keep that unadulterated that way.
Does it make sense to wipe off all this lighter color?
No, you can put tree trunks in there. You don't even have to fill that all in with dark like I did. You can just let those be tree trunks.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I think one of the things I'm doing wrong is I'm not really mixing the colors that well, and they end up, different colors come off the brush, you know, as I'm making a brush stroke.
Yeah, sometimes it gets to a place where it's just not yielding to what you want.
Uh-huh.
And sometimes when we're working, you can find, you know what, it's just fatigue. I'm tired and I'm making bad choices.
Uh-huh.
That's another thing. Just being aware of when you or your painting is at its limit.
Mm-hmm.
And we're so close to being done, so this is a good place to be. And we'll just kind of tighten it up and call it good. You can always sit with it for a few days and come back to it and play with it some more, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes it's just a good learning exercise and move on to the next thing.
Uh-huh. I do like the interest that look gives you, that very distinct, you know, branchy.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe I might go back and do it differently. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, not bad.
I hope if you guys have any questions or concerns, or you're working on this and you get stuck, just comment below and I'll be happy to help you however I can. I do enjoy your comments, and be sure if you enjoyed this video to like and subscribe. Also, I want to let you know on my website I now am offering critiques. And so you can go to my website, look under the tab critiques, and there's simple instructions on how to do that. So if you want to upload a picture, I will help you out there. Okay guys, that is it. Have a wonderful week and I will see you later.